Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Heart to Heart. My name is Madiha, and here with me today we have Sister Masuma Jaffer, who is an Alima at Stanmore Mosque, and she's also got various qualifications in counselling. She has counselled hundreds of people, individuals, families, and couples on various issues and topics. Heart to Heart is a TV show all about our viewers. You can email your questions, your problems, any issues that you might be facing at home, at school, at university, at work, and Masuma Jaffer will try her best to help you tackle them in a practical and a religious manner. You can email your issues or problems to our email address, which is hearttoheart@safiratv.com. So thank you very much for coming, Sister Masuma, and taking the time out to be with us on our show today. We've once again got loads of questions and issues that people have been emailing in with. So I'm just going to get straight to it. This is quite a loaded one. A lady has emailed in and she said, I have this huge issue that I don't know how to deal with. My husband has been subtly talking about the virtues of polygamy, and then I see him texting on his phone and smiling to himself. Then he has all these late meetings and comes home after 9 o'clock, which makes me think that there is another woman in his life. Should I confront him about my suspicions or just hope that this issue will go away?
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. I can imagine that's quite a common issue
amongst the
community.
Okay. First and foremost, let's look at polygamy itself.
Okay.
Outside this problem.
Mm-hmm.
It is something that is allowed. In fact, if you look at the verse in Surah Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says for men to marry 2, 3 or 4, and if they fear they cannot keep justice between them, then to marry 1. Okay, now some of the Mufassirin, some have said that this actually shows that God wants you to marry more than 1.
Okay.
Because he doesn't start off with marry 1, he starts off with marrying more than 1, 2, 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. It's like, for example, you invite me to your house for dinner, and I say to you, if you can, make a starter, main dish, and dessert. But if you can't, then just make the main dish.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, I want all 3, but if you can't, then just do the 1. So some of the Mufassirin say because God has started it off on that basis, he actually wants men to marry more than 1. But he also, because God has created men, he knows how difficult it will be for men to keep justice amongst the wives.
What does justice mean?
Justice is not necessarily how you feel towards each wife, but how you act towards each wife. So justice in time, the amount of time you spend with each wife, the amount of financial money you give to each wife. You need to make sure that you're just in the way you treat each wife. Mm-hmm. So as a mother, I need to be just towards my children. Mm-hmm. So I may love one more, maybe because he's my firstborn, maybe because she's the only girl, maybe because it's the last child I have and I know I'm not going to have any more. So for whatever reason, I may love one child more than the other, but that doesn't mean I should treat him better than the others. There should be justice in the way I treat my children. Okay. Which is very difficult to do as a parent as well. And constantly, as a parent, you're being told, you're always favoring this one or you're always favoring that one. So, it's very, very difficult to do that. And because God has created mankind and he knows that, he has then put down that if you fear that you cannot keep justice, then marry 1. So he's not said if you can't keep justice. Again, look at the way he's written it. If you fear you cannot keep justice. So even if there's a chance that you won't be able to, if you fear that, then don't go down this route. And this is why most men will not go down this route, because it is very, very difficult to keep that justice. Okay. So that's just making sure that we all on the same page on polygamy, that it is something that is allowed religiously, and it is up to the man to decide whether he can keep justice or not. Okay. Coming back to this person's question, this lady's question, she's actually saying that he's been talking about it. Now he may just be discussing it just because he's come across this Quranic verse, because maybe his friends are talking about it, maybe he knows someone who's in a polygamous relationship and so forth. There's lots and lots of reasons he may be discussing it.
Yeah.
Now, because he's been discussing it, it's obviously playing on her mind. Now she's putting 2 and 2 together and maybe getting 5.
Yeah.
So, again,
don't make assumptions.
Don't make assumptions. Actually have those conversations. Now, before she has this conversation, I would actually advise her to think about
whether she wants to have this
whether she wants to know or
whether
not.
she's ready for the answers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
true.
before sometimes wives choose not to know
because it's easier to deal with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, if he's in a polygamous relationship, that does not give you the right to divorce.
Yeah.
If he is treating you justly.
Unless it's in your contract or whatever it is.
So if you've written a contract, then that's different.
Yeah. But then, in this example, this person is saying that he's had all these late meetings and coming home after 9. So let's say he is in a halal polygamous relationship. He's not necessarily being just if he's come
to who? Because he's spending every single night with her. So where is the time for her, for the other one?
But then that's
so
true.
Again,
true,
I suppose then they he has to sort of figure out, can he answer to God? Is he being just?
Yeah. And are those rights the same whether it's a permanent or temporary marriage with your permanent wife and temporary? Or
no.
Does it make a difference?
No, it's with nikah.
It's only with nikah.
Yeah, with nikah. With mutar, because you can put conditions on it.
Okay.
Then it's a totally different ball game.
Okay.
So that's totally different. So again, is it nikah that he's done? Is it mutar that he's done?
Yeah.
Or is it nothing that he's done and he's just poor guy's got busy at work and trying to provide for his family and his wife. So I think conversations need to be had. But whether she's ready for those conversations, she needs to sort of decide.
Yeah.
The sad thing is, if her husband has had a relationship, whether it's mutar or nikah, the issue of trust comes into play. Then it's like, how much has it affected the trust in that relationship now, in that marriage? Because
is it about trust though? Is he breaking her trust?
Well, she would see it like that.
Yeah.
So he's not done anything wrong religiously. If it's a Muslim that he's contracting this relationship with. If it's Ahlul Kitab that he's contracting a mutar relationship with, then he needs her permission.
Yeah.
But if it's a Muslim, then he doesn't.
Yeah.
But she may feel like he's broken her trust, and for her to regain that, for him to build that trust again in the marriage would be quite difficult.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that come into play here, and I think these are conversations we should be having at the beginning of our marriage, and where we both stand, and also throughout the marriage, because as we grow in our relationship with God, we change in the way we look at things. So, when I first got married, if a woman even looked at my husband, I would be sort of, okay, I'm going to poke her eyes out. That's it. How dare she?
Yeah.
Whereas now, I think, this is something that he needs to decide whether he can do or not, because he will be accountable.
Yeah.
Because honestly, if you look at statistics, there are so many women out there who can't get married because there aren't enough men.
Yeah.
So what right do I have to say to my husband, no, you're mine, forget everyone else? It's like, where's the sisterhood here? Where's that love for, for another human being who cannot get married because there aren't enough men out there? I'm not saying it's an easy journey, or easy choice to make, but I think it's something that we need to be discussing and thinking about and talking about, because, is it fair that I have a husband and someone doesn't, just because there aren't enough men out there?
But also, I think we're very influenced by societal and sort of cultural and Western quote unquote norms of monogamous relationships, which go against a religion, and having grown up in the West.
And the sad thing is,
you can't fathom.
Yeah, but the sad thing is, in the West, yes, it talks about having one wife, but most people have affairs on the side.
Yeah.
And that seems totally okay.
Yeah.
And that seems the norm.
But it's not legitimized as per
yes,
se,
but it's considered as norm, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Whereas here, God is actually giving rights to women, which in an affair situation you wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, yes, it is. It's where you grow up, and it's where you're living. I mean, like I was watching a documentary the other day where this man was going to meet a woman to sort of talk about getting married, and he's already got 3 wives, and all 3 of these wives have met the woman to see whether she can actually then come into the
Integrate,
household
yeah.
and integrate into the household. The children have met, you know, he's got, I don't know how many children from all these three wives, and she's got the fourth wife to be has children from a previous relationship, and she's like, you know, I've done the whole monogamous thing, and it didn't work, and you know, I love this family, and I love the way he takes care of everyone, and everyone takes care of everyone else, and you know, and this wasn't Muslims. You know,
okay.
these were not Muslims. They were Americans, and
Oh.
I don't know what religion they were. I can't remember if they were a specific religion. The religion aspect didn't come into it. It was more, this is what worked for them. And you know, yes, and they talked about the fact that yes, it was very difficult, and especially at the beginning, to accept, you know, the person into the family. But once you accepted the person into the family, then you went through all the, you know, norms of, yeah, sometimes you're annoyed with them, sometimes you're happy with them, sometimes you get along, sometimes you don't, but they knew they were part of the family.
So just to be clear on this question, this, you know, for example, you said that the bottom line is that if he's deciding to take more than one wife in a nikah, in a permanent marriage, he has to be just with them in the way that he interacts with them, in the way that he provides for them, how much time he gives.
Now, again, from that perspective, he may have, the second wife coming into the relationship, knowing that she's coming into a polygamous relationship, may say to him, okay, I'll give you a year in order to sort your things out with your first wife before I demand my rights of justice.
Okay.
And so, you know, she's foregoing those rights and saying to him, okay, you don't have to spend the night with me because I know it's going to take you a while to make your first wife okay with it.
Okay.
So,
but
again, those conversations
in a temporary marriage situation, which I would assume is more sort of commonplace amongst the communities than the permanent. How do the rights vary? So, for example, if I'm going to assume that that she's assuming that he's in a not in a permanent marriage, how does those rights of justice and equality apply in that situation?
No, because
as well?
now it's the conditions between the husband and the wife who's in that temporary marriage.
But what about the first wife? So does he have to? Can he give more time to the temporary wife than he does to the permanent one, for example?
If she feels that she's not being maintained in the way that she should,
the first wife,
yes, then there is a problem,
right?
And she can bring that up,
right?
Okay, but generally with the temporary marriage, what happens is the conditions are put up for specific reasons. So if it's just for a physical relationship, it would be just, okay, you know, we're going to have a physical relationship, and that's all our, you know, this temporary marriage is about, and it's for this long. So it could be days, weeks, months, years, whatever.
Right.
The couple decide themselves.
Right.
And there is obviously, you know, all the conditions are decided, and there is a dowry, the mahar, that comes into play as well.
Yeah.
So it's much more difficult when it's permanent marriage for the guy. But again, when it comes if it is Ahlul Kitab, then he can't have a permanent marriage with them. It has to be on a muta basis. But again, he needs to have his wife's permission, because of the fact that it is Ahlul Kitab, and her rights are greater because she's a Muslim.
Okay. Well, that's always a very complex and sort of interesting topic.
But I think it's a conversation that we need to have as husband and wife. I think it's really, really important to know where each of us stand, so that this concept of, you know, trying to double guess what the other person is thinking or doing, or you know,
and that probably puts a strain on the relationship, because you know, he could just, as you said, be coming home late from work and just, you know, reading funny things on his phone. That's why he's smiling. So, you know, you're putting a pressure on your own self and putting a strain on the marriage, which could just not be justified, really. Anyway, okay, so I'll move on to the next question that this person has sent in. A lady has emailed in saying, I am a Lebanese Christian lady and I recently converted to Shia Islam. The problem is that I don't know how to tell my parents and family, especially as they are strict Catholics. My mum in particular would be very upset with my conversion, so I can forget trying to wear hijab or observe hijab. It would just be too much for them to bear. Should I continue concealing my faith or be open with them?
Okay. First and foremost, I you know, really commend this woman. It's a huge thing to sort of, you know,
leave your faith behind,
and change your whole life, because it's like, you know, you're literally giving up everything for the truth, and
it's amazing.
Yeah,
I have so much admiration for people like that.
So much. It's like, so you know, well done on you. It's amazing. When it comes to hiding it, I think there's always a chance that what is hidden will come out. And then you're not in control when it comes out and how people will react. So I would recommend for this woman to have the conversation with her parents when she's in control. So, you know, she picks a time when everything is calm, everyone is calm, emotions aren't on a high. And, you know, they can have a proper discussion on why she chose to change her faith, what, you know, she sees in Islam, which maybe she didn't see in Christianity. And maybe actually ask her parents or her family what problems they have, because it may not just be the fact that she's changed religion, it may just be the media perception of Islam that they have in their mind as well.
Connotations they have, right.
Exactly.
Or it could sometimes, I mean, I think I've met some people who have converted, and it's a safety thing. You know, if you're going to say that you're Muslim, you know, you're going to be attacked, or you're going to be, it could be out of for their well-being.
Yeah. So all of these things need to come into, I think, you know, need to be addressed.
Yeah.
And it's better that it's addressed when everyone is calm. So if she decides not to tell them and it does come out somehow or other, then emotions are going to be so high, and to try to handle it then and try to have these conversations then is going to be very, very difficult. I think, you know, the fact that she's taken such a huge step, obviously, you know, God will help her through that. And to sort of, you know, hold on to that when she's talking to her parents. And maybe she is the tool that God chooses to guide her parents with. So again, showing through her akhlaq and, you know, the you know, how much she's changed because of the fact that she's now a Muslim, and, you know, her morals have changed, her
conduct, I guess.
Conduct, her you know, what the way she behaves in all aspects of her life. And if you know, if her parents see that and see the benefit in that, and maybe that may be what brings them to Islam. So that's really, really powerful as well. And I think once you've decided that, you know, you want to be a Muslim, and that has to be out of your own free choice, then there really is no choice. Then you have to follow God's commands to the letter. So you know, the concept of having to wear hijab is a wajibat, which, you know, she has to then follow. And if she's saying that I can't do this because it's going to upset my parents, again, you know, the respect of parents is so high in Islam, but not above God. So, you know, when your parents tell you to do something haram, you can't listen to them. But, you know, so although they're not coming from a Muslim perspective, I think it's important that, you know, she shows them that, you know, everything I do now will be for the sake of Allah.
And what about, because I know of people that have converted to Islam from non-Ahlul Bayt, non-Ahlul Kitab religions, or religions or no religion sometimes, and they have issues, for example, eating at their parents' homes, issues of najasat, etc. And the sort of complexity with that is that you don't want to hurt your parents.
Okay, so it has to be, you have to refer it to your marja. And the marja have, as far as my understanding is, have given very specific rulings for that specific case. So if it is your mother, for example, I know of a person who converted from Hinduism to Islam, and he was told that he can eat his mother's food, even though she still is a Hindu. So the marja will give a specific ruling for that specific case, because it is your parents that are in, and it's not something that, you know, me or you can actually say it's okay to do. But it's a matter of, okay, look, this is very, very specific to me. I need to know what the ruling is on this, and then the marja will let you know what the ruling is on that specific situation. So again, she could write into the marja and ask, and, you know, maybe be given compensation for certain things. But I'm just aware that usually what is hidden will come out. And then you're not in control.
And, you know, if you've taken a step towards God, then He'll open the doors to hopefully make it easier.
And can you imagine if you know, by seeing the difference that Islam has made in your life, your parents come towards Islam, that would be amazing.
No, absolutely, definitely. Okay, here's an interesting question. This person's emailed to say, I keep having these strange dreams about death. I keep seeing caskets and funerals in my dream, and I think that something awful is going to happen to me. Then I think about my sins, and I believe that these dreams are a way of saying to me that I need to repent before I die. How seriously should I take these dreams, or are they simply a symptom of a guilty conscience? I think they're trying to say.
Okay. Yeah. First and foremost, you can have dreams for so many various reasons. It may be that someone close to her has passed away. Maybe she's seen a funeral procession, and it's affected her subconsciously, and that's why she's coming up with it. Maybe she saw something in the movies. It could be so many different things that can make come into it. It's not necessarily that she's got a guilty conscience, but I think it's a positive that she has got a guilty conscience, because that means your conscience is alive, which is a really good thing.
Yeah.
Before we go into looking at what should be doing, I just want to focus a little bit on death and how we see that as a very negative thing. And I think it'd be good for us to look at death in a slightly different manner and teach it to our children in a slightly different manner. To not make it something that is so negative.
That we should fear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I used to teach my children from a very young age, because I didn't want them to get up, try to explain death to them when it happened. So I'd say to them, it's a time when, your soul, which is what you are, who you are, will leave your body, and God will give you another body for the next realm, which is a much better body, which can move faster. And it moves so fast that we actually don't know how to control it. And we have these where the angels will come and teach us how to use this new body.
Oh,
so it's like, they're like, oh, like Superman. And it's like, yeah, a little bit like that. But, so, it's making them excited about it. And, you're going, eventually it's about your journey towards Allah. And you're going back to Allah, the creator who created you. And that's something that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I remember my son sort of saying to me, at the age of sort of 4 years old or something, he said to me, but what if you've been really naughty? And I said, well, what do you think? And he said, yeah, then it's going to be a problem. And I said, yeah. And then maybe that's something that we need, we need to be thinking about.
It's kind of how you wait all year round for Santa. If you've been naughty, you're not going to get your gifts.
Exactly. But here there's no sort of, replay on the next year sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, and the beautiful thing about children is they see it very black and white. And I think if they can learn that from a very early age, it's really good. In fact, I remember when my grandmother passed away, and we were all sitting there, and obviously, my dad and my aunts and everyone were crying, but, because obviously they were going to miss their mother. And, my son at the age of 4 or 5 got up and like, so Mummy, was your grandmother a really naughty, evil person?
Aww.
And I was like, why would you say that? And he's saying, because everyone's crying because they think, she's going to go back to God, and God's going to be upset because she's been naughty. And because he didn't understand the concept of, separation and missing her and things like that, because he'd never had anyone he'd lost in his life.
Yeah.
So, but it was very black and white.
It
was beautiful to see that they take that on.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important for us to realize, first and foremost, that this is a journey that I am heading towards, so why not look forward to it? Why try to fight it? It's going to happen. So let me work towards it. And realizing that it can be something that's beautiful if I work towards it. Now, she talks about the fact that she's seeing it as a wake-up call, like, should she, maybe it's a way, it's trying to tell her to repent for her sins. And I think that's brilliant. Yeah. Because, in Sahifa Sajadiyah, we're told that, the doors of Tawbah are open. Yeah. So it's not even that we need to, forget about, knocking on, opening the door or finding a key or anything. We don't even have to open the door. It's open. We just have to step through it. Yeah. So, yes, take this opportunity to step through that door of Tawbah, ask for forgiveness, right the wrong that you've done, ensure that you don't go down that path again, and use this opportunity to actually, sort out all the wrong. Because, as human beings, we will make mistakes in our lives. Yeah. And this is why God's given us the door of Tawbah. He's given us the concept of Tawbah and told us to ask for forgiveness. So, the fact that her conscience is so alive that it's making her feel guilty, I think it's beautiful. Yeah. What would be sad or what would be difficult is if your conscience is dead and you're doing, wrong things and evil things and
it's not even affecting you at
exactly.
all. Yeah. And is and we'll have to be quite brief because I think we're coming to the end of our show. But is death in a dream something that's so, I've heard stories about if you see someone dying, if you see death, it's a good omen they say. Is that just hearsay? Is that an old wives' tale?
Yeah, I think it's an old wives' tale. I don't think it's from a religious perspective,
Okay.
as far as I know. But
Okay.
again, I've not done so much reading into this, so I would know. I have no idea about interpretation of dreams and
Right.
things. But as far as I know, it is an old wives' tale where
Okay.
if you
mean anything,
dream
then.
of someone dying, then they're going to live a long life.
Right. Okay.
I don't. I think it's just to make the person feel better
Feel
because
better.
they've dreamt of someone
Fair
that they
enough.
love die.
Yeah.
Maybe, but.
Yeah.
I think, if it is worrying her so much and it's upsetting her and that she's not getting a good night's sleep, so again, reciting the 4 calls, Ayatul Kursi, Surah Fatiha before she goes to sleep, so connecting to Allah and having a more peaceful sleep. But also, I think as soon as I think she's done the tawbah and she's corrected the wrong that she's done, righting the wrong that she's done, ensuring that she doesn't, go down that path again, will automatically help her get rid of that guilty conscience that she has, at least.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us on our show today. We've actually come to the end of our show now, and we hope that everyone has benefited from Sister Masuma's advice and the way in which she's tackled the questions and issues that people have emailed in with. As I said before, the show is all about you as our viewer. You're free to and welcome to please email us with your questions and your issues and any problems you might be facing in your home or family or professional or school life at hearttoheart@safiriatv.com. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.